Hey everybody, welcome to the LiveCast Conversations with Powered by Pealed Back. I'm your host, Gene the Coach, and this is episode 76. Today on the show, we have Colt Milton. Colt is a competitive bodybuilder, and along with his wife Taylor, they are podcast hosts, bodybuilding coaches, founders of the supersetyourlife.com, and the inventors of Skull Bells, a skull-themed line of gym equipment. Colt is scheduled for his next competitive show this fall, which he will be using an all-carnivore, meat-based diet strategy. You guys want to check out Colt and Taylor every Saturday morning on the Superset Your Life podcast, which can be found on all podcast platforms. Their ultimate goal with all their businesses is to empower those who want a more muscular, lean, fulfilling life fueled through a relationship with Jesus Christ. Colt, my words cannot do you justice, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Gene. That's pretty much us in a nutshell. In a nutshell.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, there's a lot to unfold. They're podcast hosts, inventors, founders of your own company, and now as well a competitive bodybuilder. So, where would you like to start with? How you got on this journey? How did you get on this journey through fitness?
We like to keep ourselves very busy, sir. So yeah. Well, let's go back about 2.5 years before the pandemic started. Everything was going great. I was getting better as a bodybuilder. We had 2 beautiful kids, and my wife and I are happily married. Working at a high income corporate job, and I was doing stand up comedy at night with aspirations to eventually move to Los Angeles to perform stand up comedy there. And really, I just had a vision of being the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go with bodybuilding. I don't know where I'm going to go with stand-up, but these are the things that I'm talented in, and these are the things that I feel like I'm skilled in and called to steward. So that's basically where we were at, and everything was just tangible. It's like I was getting leaner, I was getting more muscular, I was getting stronger. We're starting our family. I was doing great at my job, and just like everything seemed to be going good, like almost too good. And then when the pandemic hit, my entire life fell apart. Lost my job. All the comedy clubs closed. A lot of my favorite places to play at, they closed permanently, and everything just kind of hit the fan at that point. And so I was like, okay, God, like what's going on here? And especially when the gyms closed, that's when I lost my mind, man.
Yeah.
I'm a guy I'm addicted to the gym, just flat out, to a detriment sometimes. But if I don't get a good workout, get a pump, I'm not myself. I'm angry. I'm irritable. You can call it body image issues, whatever you want to call it, body dysmorphia. You know, they say that when you start lifting weights, you're forever small the rest of your life.
I've heard that, and I've felt that sitting in front of the gym mirrors before.
Yeah, I was kind of dealing with that, man. I was just like looking for, you can only do so many body weight squats and push-ups and chin-ups and stuff before you're basically out of options, and there's some other body parts that you just need to hit. And so
yeah,
I was looking everywhere on OfferUp and looking for places to be able to find like used gym equipment, and there was a 600% increase in the cost of even used gym equipment. And so it's just ridiculous to even find anything to work out with. And I was literally starting to go crazy. You know, this is after 8 natural bodybuilding competitions, going from the absolute best physique, best shape of my life to going, whoa, like this is what I had going for me. And we were just starting to get some traction. I didn't even want to do those last couple competitions, but my wife was like, no, look, you're really going somewhere with this. We're making this happen. We're going to Edmonton. We're going to do this show. We're going to get you your pro card. Got second place. Didn't get my pro card yet, but it's still on the bucket list and something that we want to do. And so that's basically where we were at. And I was starting to go crazy. You know, the whole world was just going crazy in 2020. And we had to start getting creative. So when I knew that I was going to lose my job, we were notified a couple months in advance. So at least we had some time to kind of prepare and figure out something else to do. Started applying to jobs, and I started looking everywhere else that I possibly could for work, and I just could not find a job. It was just literally impossible. I was working in an industry called heat refractories. So I was a manager of a distribution center that dealt with high temperature bricks, mortars, insulation, construction stuff, and basically any other company, any of the competitors that I tried to go apply to jobs for, because I was just desperate. They were all just laying people off too, and so I was really out of options at that point. I was looking for jobs in the fitness space and just like anything that I was remotely qualified for, and there was nothing. I never really made that much money doing stand-up comedy, and so I was basically saw my stand-up dreams shatter before my eyes. And I was like, okay, what do I have left that I can do that I can add value to somebody that I can make money with? So we actually, I was like, well, I can make my own weights. I'm creative enough that I can make my own weightlifting equipment to be able to make my own gym at home. So we started doing that, and I tried to make it as close as I could to like the actual equipment at gyms, like make my own dumbbells out of concrete. That's just the materials that I had to start with. Yeah. Weight plates. I actually made some really cool bumper plates by going to, I went to probably like a dozen different used tire shops, and I finally found some tires that are regulation size that are the same size as like bumper plates at the gym. And I filled those up with concrete. It's a really, really complicated process, but those things are tough, man. And I still use those bumper plates today, every day. They look badass too. They're actually race car tires.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and a piece of PVC pipe that fits perfectly over a standard Olympic size barbell. Bought a couple new barbells, and just invested whatever money that we had into our own gym. And we were just basically like, let's go into business for ourselves, right? I've done some personal training on the side. I can get better at personal training. I can get better at being a coach. I can coach other bodybuilding competitors. I've done it before. I've helped people get into amazing shape and look great on stage and get some great awards and win some small natural bodybuilding competitions and place well at some larger ones. And so we were just taking inventory of everything that we had the ability to do, and then that's kind of the direction that we started heading and what we came up with. So when it came to making weights, obviously if I'm making them, like, it's not gonna look as good as what you can have in the gym. So I was like, instead of trying to make excuse my language, a shitty version of like an actual dumbbell or an actual barbell, I was like, why don't I make something cool and different? Because I can never make something that looks like the commercial grade equipment that they have at the gym. So I had, long story. It's very complicated, the process of how we made these things, but we made barbells and dumbbells literally in the shapes of skulls on the end, like casts of human skulls. And the brand just really took off. Like, we started selling them on OfferUp, and first one I sold for $50, and I was like, oh, I could probably charge twice as much for it. $100, oh, I could probably charge 3 times as much for it. $200, and just like people are buying them, Wow. So, yeah, it's like, this is not a mass produced thing. Like, this is a very artistic product that we make, that so far I've made everything in my shop, and we're still making them today. Barbells, so cool. Dumbbells, curl bars, cable attachments. The cable attachments have really been what's been taking off because the shipping cost is low, and it's a bit simpler to make these than it is the barbells and the dumbbells, and the cost of steel is just through the roof right now. So the products is really where the dream started. And then we realized that if we keep this up, we could open up our own gym with half of our own equipment that we're making. So we're on a plan right now to be able to do that next. And in the meantime, we still really haven't made any profit from product sales, because product sales are a very it's like you'll make a profit, but then like you got to buy more steel, and then you'll make and then you'll make another sale, and then you got to pay for this, and you make another sale, and then you got to pay for all the material that you just ruined because you did it wrong last time,
Yeah.
So And so being in a product business takes years and years before it's actually profitable. But the brand has just been growing, and the people love the products, and so we've been really blessed with the growth that we've seen there.
I think
But
that's incredible to like hear, like you and your family were put under this pressure, and a lot of people were, right? But
mhm,
instead of like crumpling down, be like, "Ah, this is the tough time," be like, you reached out and went, what can we do with this? Where can we take our skills, take our passions, and deliver something?
yep,
And just to hear the story of like you went like, we kind of want to try making these skull things. You put one up and like it's gone. Next one
yeah,
gone. Like yeah, like of course, like like any overnight success I always talk about in like especially like startup land. That's the world I came from, like tech startups and stuff. Is just like you're an overnight success. It took 7 years to be an overnight success. Be like, it comes down to that consistency and that discipline. And it sounds like you guys are really following through on that, and it's just continuing to open up doors for you.
mhm. Amen. Yeah, yeah. No, you said it beautifully. God's plan is always best in hindsight, but ours plan is always best in foresight. And like, there's this vision of what I wanted, but I'm like, man, like if I was still doing stand up and if I was still working that corporate job, like um, I would just be I would just be spread so thin. And right now, our big, our, the products still are, everything that we make is basically just being reinvested into merchandise and into the next business purchase that we need to make to be able to keep this business moving forward. But
Yeah.
the coaching is where we've really struck a niche, and that's where it's been a lot of fun. So basically, most of my time every day, as far as work goes, is teaching, is coaching, is teaching people the bodybuilding principles that got me the physique that I was able to achieve a couple years ago, and then and for these upcoming shows that are going to be in the fall. But that's like where our heads at as far as business is now. But we wouldn't be doing that if it wasn't for the pandemic that literally forced us to have to change everything. And now it's like it's the direction that our family is headed and that our business has become is 10 times better than what we had originally envisioned in the first place. We just hired our first VA and our first babysitter,
Wow.
so I'm basically working.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Both
Yeah.
those things are huge. I, I have a family of 4 kids, but they're
Oh
almost
my
all
goodness.
teenagers now. So I do understand working from this basement before it looked like this is like what it was like with the little ones running around and be like that first time you take them to the babysitters and you get to have like full day of work. You're like, this feels good. This feels
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, hiring our first employee, that didn't work out. We had to fire her pretty quick. She just like wasn't catching on. But I mean, that's business. That's
That's part of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's just people. But now that we've got a couple good ones, finally, it's like I'm working half as much as I was a couple months ago. December was extremely stressful because being in a health and fitness business, it's like that's not really where people's heads are at, and so we were like trying to figure out how we were going to pay rent, and then God really provided for us and gave us some exposure and a couple breaks. They were able to get us a couple wins. Buy my wife some time, and so she's able to go to the gym every morning now. I'm spending twice as much time with my family, with my kids, which was really the goal all along.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got your months where it's tight, you got your months where it's great, and you just never really know because it's not that steady paycheck that we were used to with the corporate job.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's part of it. And actually, as we're talking, Steve is dropping a comment. He's got
There he is.
he's waiting on his orders for his barbells to make it to Nova Scotia soon enough. Right
I'll let
on,
you know when you're
supporting him,
ready, buddy.
Steve.
Thanks
Love
for
it.
repping the Desolator.
But yeah, it's incredible where you can go when you have to, right? And listening to your story is like your environment rapidly changed and put you in a new place where you had this trajectory which made a lot of sense to you and was probably very fulfilling for what it was when it was. And now looking at it going, I didn't even know these doors were possibilities. Like look what I'm doing. Like like look at your following on like Instagram and stuff. When we were talking before the show got started, it's like you as well. You and your wife have a podcast. You're on episode 74, so it's like 2 behind me. But like all of a sudden, you're just like now things are picking up, and now you're like I don't know where it's coming from. Be like I might not know for sure, but I can tell you it's from your consistency and from showing up and from delivering and just having that faith, right? Like you play and you use the word stewardship earlier, and I know that your faith in God and Jesus is a big part of what fuels you,
Mhm.
and it's having that faith in like we will get through this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people when they don't have whatever faith and whatever faith means to them, it doesn't need to be the same thing for me or the same thing for you, but like is it something beyond us? I think that's so important. Is like has that been with you for most of your life, or has this been something that well, I assume making an assumption, but my assumption is you continue to refine your relationship with that faith and with God and Jesus.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's been with me my whole life, but it grows through times like this. There's one thing. It's one thing to read something and believe it and go, okay, that makes sense, and move on with the rest of my life. And then there's something else when it says to give all your trust to God, and then go, hold on, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. I don't know how I'm going to, I don't know how we're going to survive this month. And to go, okay, I've literally done everything I can possibly think of and left no stone unturned. And I don't know how we're going to get by this month. And we had one of these not too long ago. And I was like, man, okay, I know that God loves me. I know he loves my family. I know that I know that his word says that he's always going to provide. And I know that he says that he's going to give us everything that we need if we seek his kingdom first. And so I was just like, okay, God, I don't know how this is nights, several nights in a row praying this and just going, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know that you're going to make it work. And,
Mm.
and he's faithful, and
Yeah.
it always comes around. You don't know if you put your trust in him, you don't know exactly how that's going to happen, but that's what we found. And yeah, that when you surrender your control and your desire to be in 100% control of your life to a higher power, it's a very freeing feeling and a peaceful feeling when you come out on the other side of that.
Right. Well, yeah, it's interesting. Just like your body language and everything about it, like you can tell that this is such a place of strength for you as well. And it's interesting just listening to the way that you phrased your prayer is like it didn't come from a negative space. It was very positive. Like what's next? I'm open for it, and everything from like a you know a metacognitive and a conscious component is like you've also opened the doors within yourself by not going, oh, this is so horrible, how are we ever going to get through this? Be like, we're going to get through this, and I know that something good's going to come. Now everything about you and your relationship with your higher power is flooding you, going, your doors are open, you're open to receive. And I think that's a big part of how that faith powers people.
Thank you. Yeah, that's our goal. Like we never try to force our faith on anybody, but it's like these are our beliefs. And if somebody literally asks me, how do you I struggle with an eating disorder. I've struggled with an eating disorder basically my entire life. And so stumbling across the carnivore diet is something that's helped me to keep that in check and keep my body dysmorphia in check, and stay on a path regarding food and exercise that's very healthy and for me very sustainable to have a meat-based diet.
Yeah.
And so when somebody comes to me and says like, hey, I'm struggling with an eating disorder, or says, hey, I'm struggling with anxiety, or I'm struggling with this, or I'm struggling with that, I'm like, okay, I've read probably 70 to 80 self-help books throughout the years, business books, positive mental attitude books, and there's one source that pretty much is no question is infinitely times more impactful than any of them. And it's like I can actually share what has helped me and be honest, or I can be politically correct and say, yeah, go to this Tony Robbins seminar. I've been to Tony Robbins seminars, by the way, and they're freaking awesome. I highly recommend them. But you know, but it's nothing compared to, at least for me, what a relationship with Jesus Christ has done.
Right. And I think that's it's so important that you share that is that it comes from this place of what is right for you, and what is right for you may not be the exact prescription that somebody else needs, but they can learn from it. And what can they take away from the experience that you're having and the lessons that you're willing to share about that? Like the fact that you're even sharing that you've had challenges with eating disorders and stuff in the past. There may be somebody that's watched this going, oh, I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is like such a power, and how you're serving, and like come back to this word of stewardship is like, I think it's such, that in itself is very powerful.
Thanks. Yeah, I had a bad day where I fell off the wagon with my diet a few months ago, and I threw out an Instagram post about it and said, "This is what happened to me today," and I was shocked. Like I just used like a couple of hashtags like eating disorder and eating disorder survivor. I had guys, girls, just like people that I knew, people that I didn't know, hit me up like, "Hey, thanks for sharing that. That I struggle with this. I struggle with that." I was like, "What? You do too?" And like we're still kind of in touch, and we check up on each other from now and then. Have a policy with anybody that we're coaching is to please do not bother me after 7 or 8 o'clock p.m. Even if you're paying for my time as a coach to be able to contact me whenever you want. Obviously that's time where I just need to be away from the phone and unwind, unless the only exception is if you are literally struggling with an eating disorder and you need to call and you need help. And if that's you, then I don't care what's happening. I pick up the phone and I talk through that person, that situation on the phone. Because there's been times where like I've gone into grocery stores and I've had to call my coach and just say, dude, like I want to sell this place out, man. And I know that I'm in here for bacon and eggs and cottage cheese and the stuff that put on my meal plan. But man, I just need you to hold me accountable. I'm not too, I try to not be so prideful that I can't reach out for some help if I need it. And I just know there's other people who struggle with it too. So I'm just trying to throw it out there and let people know they're not alone if that's the case.
Do you mind if we talk a little bit more about your eating disorder? And
yeah, no, great. That's actually a book I want to write, and so I guess anything that comes out now is just more,
we're just pre-writing some of the book, working through some of the ideas for it. So
yeah.
My first question is like, when did you become like aware of the challenge that you were having with, or that it was a challenge or impacting?
So I didn't know I didn't know it was a problem until I was like 25 or 26 years old. I'm almost 30 now. I'm like, how the heck did that happen? But I've had a huge appetite my entire life. Like I just love to eat, and still to this day, I'm eating 500-600 grams of protein a day, which is basically like probably 6 pounds of steak. I'm not really tracking it that much right now. I'm bulking. Yeah. So basically like I'm eating whenever I'm hungry. I'm trying to get protein in throughout the entire day. And still with that amount of meat, most people like, I don't think I have a single client that's eating as much meat as I am in their meal plans. And I still walk away from every meal kind of sad that there's not more and that I can't eat more. Like I just love to eat, man. I always have my entire life. And so limiting everything to just meat on a carnivore diet, for me, I've experienced a number of health benefits that isn't really the topic or the purpose of this show, but it's more importantly allowed me to be able to be more satiated, more satisfied with everything that I do eat. Because if I eat carbs, then it just stimulates my appetite, and I just want more, and I'm a bottomless pit. I also train really hard in the gym too, so that's also very appetite stimulating. But I would sit back, and I mean, like my lunch in high school I would get 3 or 4 plates, man. My breakfast was a 5 egg omelet with a bunch of ground beef, orange juice, because orange juice is good for you, right? Toast on the side, cereal on the side. And like a box of cereal. Like if I ate cereal ever, it was the entire box, and that's how I was. Wow. I just had a big metabolism. Yeah, I was playing hockey. I was playing football. I was running cross country. I was lifting weights. And so like I was burning all those calories. But you get married, you have kids, and then like you're not really doing all that anymore. You get a job, and it's like your metabolism catches up with you real quick. So no, I got fat, dude. Like a couple years into being married, I was just like, all right, I need to do something about this. And so I started dieting and cutting and restricting calories for the first time. And that created a real problem, because then for the first time in my life, I had this mindset that there was a limit on how much food I could eat. And then we had a problem because my entire life of eating so much food all the time, that wasn't really an issue up until that point. Like, dude, I would go to buffets and sell the places out. Like, I would go to Golden Corral. Do you guys have Golden Corral in British
No.
Columbia? All right, so we have this buffet called Golden Corral, and man, I would go there and I would get an entire plate full of steak and an entire plate full of salad, an entire plate full of mac and cheese, an entire plate full of pizza, and then a dessert plate, and then like a taco plate, and like I would literally just keep going back, and then I would just take a couple hour nap, and then I would be hungry for dinner again. So, uh, and so like that was just my lifestyle, and when I finally made a decision to start restricting my calories and putting a limit on how much I ate, then a bunch of psychological problems started coming along with that. And then whenever I would fall off or eat too much, like it would mess with my head. I'm a perfectionist,
Right.
went to school for classical music performance, so I'm very much a perfectionist, and like anything that would make me feel like I was going backwards would be something that would be really hard to handle. And it would be a downward snowball effect from there. So that led to binging and purging. It led to bulimia. It led to um, it led to an extremely unhealthy and extremely dangerous relationship with food. So I had to clean up my diet, and I had to cut out sugar, and I had to start studying food and studying nutrition like I never had before, and figuring out how I could fuel my body with the right foods in a way that was healthy, in a way that was sustainable, and be okay if I had a bad day here and there.
Right.
And realize that because I feel like I messed up, that it doesn't change who I am through Jesus Christ, because I'm perfect, not because of anything that I could ever try to do. That's a losing battle, but I'm perfect because of what he did 2,000 years ago. So meditating on stuff like that has given me the ability to realize that I can give myself grace because he gives me grace, and he sees me as somebody so much more than what I see myself as. So
Yeah.
yeah, between faith and between studying nutrition, between having a coach to hold me accountable, I've come a long way. I've come a long way through all of it.
Uh, Congratulations on coming through that way, and just sharing that, man. Like that's it's interesting listening to it, going from like you were big time sports in high school, this probably just massive like energy source, like just eating all this food, and like
Yeah.
they say that you can't outwork a bad diet, but like when you're doing that much, be like it doesn't really matter. You're
Yeah.
just burning it as fast as it hits in, and then feeling it come in, and having that, like it's almost like this the story of the Hydra. You cut off one head, going, I'm just going to restrict myself a little bit, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, here's all the things behind food, and what does restrictions now mean? What's this saying about you? And it's just like, I don't like any of this stuff. Like this is horrible, and just like that, right? Like those are the things that can happen so quickly, and not knowing why or where it's coming from. So to be able to see it, face it, and then start to reassociate what that relationship with food is by learning about it. I'm sure, well, learning about food, like in our guts and everything else, like this is science that is like still on the early days of it, and there's just so much to learn. And now knowing what you know is like, I think it's important that that's even more of that authenticness that you get to bring into your coaching practice for helping people who are, in these bodybuilding places. Like they need to understand like a strong relationship with food is just as important as a strong relationship with the gym, right? Like that's how, like the body is a temple, and if you're going to treat it as such,
You nailed it.
you're going to have to do it as such.
You nailed it. That's my shirt says actually too. I didn't even wear this on purpose, but this is from one of my recent natural bodybuilding shows, and the promoter of this show has a company called her coaching brand is Temple Body Fit, Temple something fit. Anyway, there's literally a cross on it.
So that was a plug we didn't know was going to happen. So
good one, yeah.
So where does all this now taking you? Seeing what is happening, seeing now that you're getting this traction with coaching, is like all this stuff 2 years, Colt 2 years ago would have like never have imagined that this was going to be his life.
Right.
So now how do you take where you are from today and like kind of like future cast? Where's Colt in 6 months? Where's Colt in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. So excellent question. Thanks for that. The I think the biggest thing to acknowledge first is just that whatever I think is going to happen and project to happen is probably going to be dead wrong, and it's probably going to be better if we continue to um, grow closer to Christ and stay deeply rooted in our church the way that we have been the last 6 months. There's a verse that I don't remember where it is off the top of my head, so I'm not going to be able to cite it, but it's in one of the prophetic books. I think it might be Isaiah, basically saying that God straight up laughs at man's plans, um, and there's truth to it, and I think about that from time to time. But James chapter 4 also talks about how even setting goals and setting plans is is not effective if you're not acknowledging who really is sovereign. So everything that we do is like when we make business plans now, when we say this is what we want to do, we say this is what I feel like we have the ability to do and what we can do based on the talents that we've been given, the um, what our heart feels pulled to do, and where there's a need for something like this, so like
Right.
the gym industry, there's a lot of people that go to the gym that want to better themselves, that are very moldable, they're very open to learning, especially if they're looking for a coach, and they want to better themselves more than just their bodies, and those people believe in a higher power, but that's kind of really as far as they've thought with it, and they're really in a position to where they can really learn. So that's the people that we want to reach, is the people that that believe that there's something out there, and they just don't really know what that is, and they're looking for ways to improve themselves and to love themselves more, but maybe have struggled with doing that as much as they really want to or feel like they could. So we feel like we have the answer, which is basically putting everything else aside and not looking into a mirror and saying, I like how I look. I like how I look. Because I used to do that kind of stuff, right? That's what positive self-help books tell you to do, is to speak affirmations and say, like, I'm confident. I can do this. I can do this. Instead of saying, no, I can't do this. I need somebody else's help. I need the help of a higher power. And so tapping into that help is something that we, I guess, feel like we want to help people accomplish. That being said, our gym, we would like this. This is our vision. Whether it actually happens, great. But I don't see any reason why this couldn't happen. So our first gym is going to be in summer of 2023. It'll be public. Right now we have a private gym called Skullbells Gym. And as we build the amount of equipment that we need to be able to have half of our own equipment that we've made, we're gonna go to a bank for the rest of the money that would need $50,000, $100,000. I don't know, whatever it is, to get like a leg press and some more cardio equipment, a couple stair mills and stuff, and like all the essential pieces of equipment they would need for that gym. It's going to be an old school classic bodybuilding gym. Building my record collection right now, and so it's going to be appealing to the younger crowd because of the theme of the gym, of how hardcore it is and how like metal of a vibe it is. We're going to be playing heavy metal from the 70s and 80s, and it's all in vinyls too. And so when you get like a 50 or 60-year-old that comes in listening to the albums that came out when they were in that era, they're like, oh, cool, and they're going to tell all their friends, so that's like kind of our marketing strategy there. So yeah, it's going to be called Skullbells Gym, the resurrection of classic bodybuilding, and we want to make it a franchise. So we want to have gyms in all 50 states in the United States. From there, we want to have a verse by verse Bible study that is broadcast out of our gym. CrossFit Mayhem, they do that. John Froning, the very well known CrossFit guy, I forget his name. I'm pretty sure it's Jim Froning. He does that, and so that's been super inspiring to me. Like, they're literally just taking passages of the Bible and like, this is how this applies to us today at the gym, and like this helped my workout today because blah 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 blah.
Right.
So I feel like that would help us to be able to reach that market with something that I just really don't think is there. It's something that we feel like we're becoming qualified to do as leaders. It feels like it's definitely something that's on our hearts, and there's definitely a need for it. I mean, so those are basically all the signs to go, okay, I think this is the direction that we're being called to go.
Right. That's incredible, man. I love how vividly you paint that vision for it, right? And I think there's a lot of power that comes behind. I've used that word a lot here in this conversation, but I think there is a lot of like, call whatever you want behind it, but there is the clearer you can see it, I think, especially with your connection that you have with your higher powers yourselves with God and Jesus, is like it starts to really form that, and that then now all of a sudden you can see this direction and you can take the steps there when you wake up every morning and go, can I take the steps to it? Be like, it's very clear where you're going. And the other part that I find really very like fascinating is the openness to going, this is where we see it today, but we're also open that if we learn something new or discover something new, that this can change. And I think a lot of people don't aren't at that maturity with their visions and the faith within it, going, okay, I'm here as a vessel, as a steward towards serving people in this way, and right now this is my next step to be able to serve more and to serve greater. But if I learn something tomorrow or learn something in the next moment, I'm open to adjusting whatever that is, as long as I'm living from a principle. So what I hear more from you is that, yes, you have a vision, but there's all these backbone principles that you are actually living to. It's the principles that you're living to, not so much the vision, because living to those principles are unlocking your opportunities.
Yeah, I think you just said what I said in about 10 times better words than the way I articulated it. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It the hardest part is what you just said, is being open-minded and flexible to what the higher power says is going to go and what isn't going to go. And that as you described level of maturity, which thank you for describing it that way, that's flattering. The that level of maturity did not happen on my part on purpose at all. It was forced into me because of everything that happened. And I think God just took me, somebody so stubborn and somebody so bullheaded and focused on my own dreams and my own goals. I mean, I wanted to be a millionaire by now, bro. And we with a completely different business, and we were dead set on that business, which was a different e-commerce business that we don't have time to get into now. But we were so set on that vision, and just thought it was right to only sit back and realize, you know what, there was a lot of pride and materialistic desire there that really, looking back now, would have been empty and fulfilling compared to what we've been able to do in the last 6 months.
Yeah. You look, as I look at all of those as like, those are all stepping stones. Like you learned something important from that part of the journey that took you on. And there, I always butcher the saying, but like, there's always like, whatever got you to here isn't what's going to get you to there, right? So it's like, I feel like that you've got this sense of like gratitude for what got you here, and then you're also open to be like, what's going to get us there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, man, like I said earlier before we got going, I'm gonna look up and be like, we're almost at the 40-minute mark. Is there is there anything else that you'd like to give a big shout out to and share about what you've got going on?
That's pretty much it. As far as what we have going on. If you want to follow everything that we're doing, you already plugged everything in the intro. But yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Colt Milton, sharing my journey through this next contest prep, which is going to be in September of 2022. Is going to be my next show. It's going to be on an all meat based diet. So you can follow that on Instagram or on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Skullbells TV, all one word, SKULLBELLZ. Other than that, for coaching inquiries, you can shoot me a text, 206-743-1346. Our email newsletter as we come out with new products and everything. And when we finally do open up our first gym, that'll be announced through our newsletter and all other platforms too, obviously. But my email address is colt@supersetyourlife.com. Other than that, our podcast is the supersetyourlife.com podcast. All one word. It's in the name, just like bodybuilding.com. It's supersetyourlife.com. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I've added all the links as well that were in the show notes in the comments. So if anybody else wants to go check them out, their podcast, like they say, is available. It's on YouTube and all the audio platforms. I've included the anchor.fm so you can get to them all. So definitely go check that out. And the next one, you want to give a shout out who your Saturday episode coming up?
Yeah. This one is going to be Bernardo Castellanos, and it's going to be on the subject of all things recovery. We've had a lot of questions about ice baths. Do they work? They certainly help with recovery, but like, are they the best for muscle mass? Because there's a lot of bodybuilders and a lot of science that shows that the reduction in inflammation can be beneficial to performance and help you recover quicker. But that inflammation that it's getting rid of is what like helps build muscle in the first place. So are you really moving forward with your bodybuilding or not? And if maximizing muscle is the ultimate goal? And I don't know. So I'm gonna find out tomorrow. Interview with him, and we basically just pulled together everybody's questions for him: massage, sleep. I mean, basically everything you can think of in terms of sports recovery, and he is a master at this kind of stuff. A lot of the science is probably going to go over my head, so I'm going to be stopping him and saying like, wait, like what does this word mean and what does that word mean, for anybody that's not as up to date on the terminology as he is. But yeah, that'll be out Saturday morning. That'll be episode 75 of our show.
That's awesome, man. That's great. And now I'm curious to hear about it, right? Like ice bath. I did 75 hard, and one of the phases is like 30 days of cold showers and stuff. So it's interesting to see what the answer is, because like it sounds like there might be for depending on your goal is dependent on taking that as one of the tactics for it.
Yeah, the cold showers are still something that I do first thing every single morning, and it wakes me up before putting caffeine or anything in your body. It's like wake yourself up as naturally as you can. So even just 30 seconds of a nice cold shower, super good way to start the day.
Yeah, and it's good for like kind of like that body shock. It does help flush out from it does very good things for your body, giving it the different highs and lows from time to time.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend. So before we wrap up, I ask everybody the same question. So we're going to jump into my time machine. We're going to go back 10 years, and when the door opens up, you get to give yourself one piece of advice. What would that be, Colt?
Okay. So if I was going to go back 10 years and give myself one piece of advice, I would go, Colt, you love reading books. You love personal development. You love achieving. You want the best for your family. You want to provide for your family. You want to create the best life that you can. Okay. All those books that are on your shelf that you want to read, put them all aside and prioritize the Bible as priority over everything else, because every single book, whether there's a lot of great success books, man, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, subconscious mind books, goal setting books. Are they helpful? Yeah. But none of them are perfect, and all of them are man's opinions in one way or another. And there's only one book that is always proven right. It's never proven wrong. It's timeless, and every single page has something that speaks to me. So every single night, that's my ritual. Undistracted, I'm studying, and that gets me through just about everything. And I wish that I would have started doing that 10 years ago.
Awesome. That's a great piece.
Thanks.
All right, my friend. So thank you so much for being on episode 76 today. I really appreciate it. To everybody else that's watching, thank you for checking us out. As always, I'm Gene, the coach, and this is the LiveCast Conversations With. Until next Wednesday, we'll see you then.